Hi everyone, and welcome back to our physics series in the guise of a pinball game. So we are making a pinball game because we want to show off some of the physics settings that you have available to you inside of Unreal, and also you get to learn how to make a pinball game, so win-win. So in this episode, we are carrying on from last time where we made it launch the pinball, but I want to focus a lot more this time on physics materials, and so how can we change the properties of our physics objects through the use of physics materials. So we can make our ball a bit more slidey, a bit more bouncy, and a bit less friction. So let's take a look. So when it comes to physics objects, there's two places where you can modify some settings that you have available to you on the physics object itself. So the first one, which you probably already do know about if you've messed around with this at all, is in the object component itself. If you go down to physics, you can see you've got linear damping, angular damping, and a few other settings too. And damping means basically how much drag does it have in its spin and its movement. But there are other properties that you want to change too, such as like friction or restitution, which is like bounciness. All that is handled through the physics material. So how do you make a physics material? So let's go ahead and create a material folder. And in here, we are going to create a new physical material. And we're going to choose the default one. And in here, I'm going to do PM, and we're going to do pinball. Okay, and here's the settings we have available to us in the pinball. Now, I won't go through all of them, but I'll go through some key ones. So friction is a good one to think about because that basically means how sticky it is to the floor. So default is 0.7. If we bring it down to 0.01, it's going to have far less friction. It's going to be more slippy and slidey, as well as if you were to walk on it too. So if you want to do like ice, for example, you can do the same thing here with ice and make slippery ice for the character to walk on. The other ones that are important to know is restitution. So restitution here is set default with 0.3. This is basically how bouncy it is. So whatever velocity it has when it hits something, how much of it will it keep? So it's saying it's going to keep 0.3, so 30% of its velocity when it hits something, which is quite a big drop. So I'm going to bring that back up because big solid metal balls are bouncy. So we're going to bring that up to like 0.8, something like that. Now, something that's quite interesting to take note of is the combine mode. So when two physics objects collide, it takes the friction of one and the friction of the other and combines them together. And it has a default combine mode of the average. Okay, so it takes the mean average between those two different friction objects. However, you can change it by ticking the box. So you can take the smallest one, the maximum one, or even multiply it as well. You can change that around too. But I'm going to leave it as average for now, but just something to know, be aware of there. And you've got things like density as well, and how much you want to apply some sleep to it. There's also the surface properties, so if you want to make different noises when it bounces off things, you can do that easily here too. But that'll do for now here. Main ones are the friction and restitution. And to apply a physics materials, you've got actually a few number of places where you can actually do this. One is on the component itself. You can just go into the details panel and search for physical or physics material, which is usually in the collision section of the object. So let's go down to collision. There you go, phys material. There you go. So phys material override, you can choose what one you want to use here. And it does come with some in the engine. So you've got ice, metal, rubber, all that stuff. But let's pick our one, PM Pinball. And that's one place you can apply it. You can also apply it directly onto a material itself, which we'll do in a second. But that will make it so you can easily add it to other things too. But let's put that there for now. And let's simulate, see how that looks. So a lot more bouncy, a lot more oomph behind it. And it will speed it, as you see, it keeps the speed quite early on, which is excellent. That's what we want. Okay. And obviously with physics, it's a lot of tweaking of these numbers. There's no real like it must be this number to make it work. Tweak it however you want to match the type of game you're doing. It also depends on like the size of things, the amount of force you're applying. So definitely experiment and see what fits and what doesn't fit. But yeah, physics materials are a great way to apply this. So let's make our pinball look more like a pinball. So in our materials folder, let's make a pinball material. And we're going to make a very simple solid metal ball, which is basically a grey colour. So we're going to hold down 3, left click, and we're going to choose a greyish colour. And put that into the base colour. Metallic, we're going to change that to 1. And specular, we're going to change that to 1 too. So specular is just basically how shiny it is. So these little white spots, that's specular highlights. So that's basically how shiny you want it to be. The roughness, though, is how it's going to handle the reflective nature of the ball. So at the moment, it's got half of the roughness on it. So basically, when light hits it, it's like this like spreading out half of the light across the surface. If I change roughness here to 0, it'll bounce it all back and make a big solid mirror ball. So you can tweak that number how you want. You can also use some basic texture maps if you want, noises, things like that. Get some different roughness in there. I'm going to add a little bit of roughness to it. I don't like 0 purely on its own. It makes it look a bit too clean. There you go. That's not too bad. 0.2. Quite like that. And the other place I mentioned that you can apply physics materials is on the physics asset itself. Just scroll down in the main settings of the main node, and you'll see there physics material, which you can apply. Go on. Okay. All well and good. So let's now go to our pinball and assign the material to that. There's our pinball. Okay, so let's see that in action. I'll simulate again. Cool. Looking a lot better. So physics materials are a great way to control the properties of any friction or restitution of any object. And instead, you can apply it to things like flooring as well. So if you want the player to skid along the floor, you can easily do that with ice physics material. So do experiment with all these numbers, and that's what really good about physics and making a physics-based game is a lot of experimentation of those numbers, of the mass. There's a load of little dials and levers to pull and mess around with. It's it takes a bit of time to experiment and find the sweet spot that you want to go for. So in the next episode, we're going to show you how to continue to add more impulse to the pinball after it's been launched already. So we're going to do little rebounders, which it'll hit and it'll detect the hit event and rebound it off. And that's what we're looking at in the next episode. If you want to support the channel and get access to all our videos early, just go over to patreon.com/Ryan Laley, where you can donate just $1 a month and get access to all our videos before anyone else. Thank you to all our patrons and YouTube members for the continued support in the channel. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.